For a wrap of this week's leading political news, I'm now joined by political analyst Dr. Desmond Alugnoa. A very good afternoon to you, Doc. Thanks very much for your time. You know, I was watching on Wednesday after the finance minister's budget speech, a very happy John Steenhuisen, who had good things to say about the budget, but also about how their party's views and aspirations were well reflected in that budget. And now I read this about the fact that the Democratic Alliance, together with your EFFs and Umkhonto weSizwe parties, have clubbed together. They want an oversight body over the presidency. And I'm wondering, what political game is the DA, a partner of the ANC in the government of national unity, playing here?
Hi, Pablo, thanks for having me. I think we should, and let's start with the government of national unity and the Democratic Alliance being part of it. There was that question of what role will DA play as an opposition? Because it's not so much a governing party. And I think what they are doing now is asserting that role of being opposition. And this issue of having oversight over the presidency appeals to all political parties. I think anyone who reads the South African political system carefully would be open and willing to accept that there should be a particular structure that looks into the presidency, because over about 3 years now, Mr. Ramaphosa has been conglomerating his office. He's been taking some agencies into his office. And these are offices with huge budgets, and some are not disclosed to the public. Therefore, there is that need to ensure that this is not a supra-powerful presidency in a democratic and constitutional order. You do need accountability, and Mr. Ramaphosa should not be absolved from that.
I think there's merit in the idea, but I was kind of focusing narrowly for a start on what the DA is or how the DA is playing its politics. Bearing in mind also that they are other partner in the GNU, the IFP, who are the originators of the idea, by the way, tend to agree with the ANC, questioning this whole move. And then one wonders whether there is something bubbling under here.
No, I don't think there's anything untoward. On the one side, IFP, you want to think if they were at the forefront of advancing and advocating for this kind of an institution, why are they seem to be backtracking? And speculation could be maybe they enjoy the comfort of being in power, GNU formation, or really we cannot really have effect around it. But on the side of the DA, my thinking is that they want to be true to that aspect and the principle of an accountable executive. This is basically what they are playing as a role, opposition. Notwithstanding that they are in the GNU, it does not mean you should not provide a critical view on government performance, even if you are within that framework.
Of course, I mean, the president here, he has made several promises in the past. And hasn't delivered on some of those promises. Do you think that this move, if you were to get this oversight committee, it would go some way in holding him accountable and getting him to deliver on promises that he makes and often doesn't deliver on?
Yeah, I think so. It is one thing. What they are doing is something that seeks to transform the perception that the executive works in secrecy. There's many people who are comfortable with that theoretical explanation. But in this regard, when you create an institution that will hold the executive accountable, especially the presidency, this advances our democracy. And these are people like portfolio committees who will have to call on the president to maybe expedite certain decisions or it is a committee that will ask for access to some disclosures. And this could be disclosures that show if the presidency has been working or there is something really concerning in terms of public interest.
Speaking of accountability, I mean, the president has been telling us over the years that he signs agreements with his performance agreements with his ministers, but we've hardly seen that at work or the results of that. Do you get a sense that he does hold his ministers accountable?
I do think so, Pavio. Issues of performance agreement and accountability in that regard, this could be a concern in terms of, are we as members of public allowed access to that information? Is it somewhere available on a portal or website? I'm not aware. But I don't think the president comes in office day in, day out, looking at his fellows in the eye and pretending as if nothing is there. There has to be elements of reporting on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and monitoring progress. So I don't think people should easily assume that because we are not sure about what is in these agreements, the president is sitting idle by. I'm certain that he is doing something to hold these people accountable. This is the basics of statecraft. Otherwise, if he were not to do that, we would really be in a bad situation as a country.
Well, I'm asking that question also because this week we had a cabinet minister who is also, of course, the chairperson of the ANC, Gweda Mandasha, saying to ANC ministers they need to go out there and claim victories that he said they were not doing that. As a result, you now have your DA ministers appearing as though they are doers or more of doers than their ANC cabinet colleagues.
I don't think that's a matter of performance, but it's the extent to which you communicate your successes. There are ministers who might be doing very well, but because they are not communicating it, the public thinks they are doing nothing. So I think what Mr. Mandasha is saying is to say all in the executive should improve in their political communication. And this is very important because when we go to national or local government elections, people always say the government is doing nothing. But I think when there is something reported by a department or even a political party itself, ANC should also be communicating like DA does to say our targets and our expectation and promises to you, the electorate, were A, B, and D. And this is what we have delivered. We've exceeded that. And people now regain that trust. It's so easy for people to say, government is not doing anything. We don't see you. We don't see you. But when you start reporting to them, municipality to municipality, department to department, that begins to change the picture. So I think this is what Mr. Mandasha was trying to say. Okay, communicate to the people. Let them know what you are doing. It should not be that impression as if DA is the only one shining here and doing work when you are sitting on your chairs. So I think that was the exhortation that he was giving to his colleagues.
We also saw, of course, some action from the main opposition in Parliament, which is the MK party, dressed in camouflage. They had a whole briefing, as opposed to other political parties who do what we normally do, on the back of a budget speech where everyone comes outside and get their few minutes worth of commentary or reaction to the budget. They had a full-on media briefing with a long statement, and of course they were criticizing that budget speech and using language like when the MK party takes over, an MK government will do things differently, this and the other. I don't know what you made of the whole spectacle, if anything.
Yeah, probably. I think this is also a way that MK wants to be unique in terms of speaking on these policy issues. But there is also another thing in terms of their clothing. I think they are living up to that name of a military history or heritage, and this is what they're trying to do. But it's not only MK. I was really fascinated by the trade unions also in alliance protesting around issues of unemployment and poverty, contesting that the budget is not poor. It really does not cater for the marginalized in society. Then the question is, you make a statement, you protest on the maybe 12th hour of this statement being made. Question is, what processes behind the scenes have they followed to submit documents to the minister to ensure that the budget reflects what they wish, instead of making statements in the streets when the budget is already really collected or composed? So I think our politics and activism, for it to be more meaningful, we have to utilize all spaces of policymaking. Here, what they're doing is simply agenda setting, and these are the optics of politics. But the real policy formulation is behind doors, and this is where I think they should be lobbying relevant departments to ensure that their perspectives are being presented. That is on the trade unions. For MK, this is the best you can do as an opposition party. I think culturally we've seen, even in parliament, you could make a very beautiful point as an opposition, but the governing party will negate that point. So we have a culture in politics where they don't really appreciate the good points from opposition. And here MK is making that public statement and reminding the electorate what to look out for if MK should be in power. They are reminding us to say they are prepared. They are considering all these policy areas, and this is what they want to do. And you as an electorate have to make up your mind whether you'll continue with the status quo or give them a chance, and hopefully there could be change.
A quick parting shot, Doc, just what you make of the founder of the MK party's decision to still appeal his expulsion from the ANC, Jacob Zuma, that is.
Oh, Mr. Zuma, I think in a township we say, "Walatel," like, oh, you're forced, you know. I think he's pushing his luck in this regard. On one side, maybe he's really milking the political mileage that comes with this, or trying to frustrate the ANC. But the prospects are not there at all for him to win. I think what he has done was worse. It's like almost killing the political party. So you cannot wound your party like this and still claim to be upholding its interests.
Dr. Motlong, thank you very much for your time and insights.